Hello, everyone. I'm G-Man. There's T-Money. Welcome to the January 3rd Father, Son, and Holy Sport NFL show. It's a new year. T-Money, what's up?
What's going on, G-Man? Crazy game here in Cincinnati last night. Humbling to watch. Makes you just put things in perspective that it's more than a game, but good weekend of football. A lot of playoff implications, especially if this game doesn't get played. So we're going to try to be as respectful as we can and still talk about football while sending our prayers to Damon here.
Yeah, that's well said, T-Money. Damar Hamlin has that fund that raised millions of dollars overnight. Such a great thing. He started a little fund for his community.
Yeah.
And everybody's donating money toward it. So that's the positive thing about people. You know, they love to help each other out, and people are coming, to the game here and being really supportive all around the league, all around the country.
Yep, I agree.
And I agree with the T-Money. We want to bring upbeat NFL energy like we do every week. We don't really get into the politics of football. We know you want to escape that, everybody. We know you want to have fun talking about football, and we try to do that, giving you our insight and knowledge. And of course, we talk about leadership and players and motivation, and this is certainly one of those moments when we saw a lot of leadership around this whole event. And like T-Money said, our prayers go out to this young man, and I'm sure he's going to recover, and we're confident on that. And we don't know what the Bills are going to do at this time right now. It's still early in the week. We're going to see what happens. We're going to talk about the games, T-Money, and move on after week 17, kind of look at the picture as we move toward week 18. And looking at it after week 17 in the AFC, the number one seed is still up for grabs. We thought we'd get some clarity last night, but it did not happen, and that game is still postponed. The AFC South is still up. That's not settled, and that 7th spot in the AFC is still open. So still some things in that AFC.
Yeah, it's just wild right now. This game threw a wrench in everything for sure for seeding ability, and the Bengals possibly getting the 1 seed and the Bills locking up the 1 seed, and the Bengals jumping to 2 potentially. There's a lot of fluctuation with this. Now, if they don't play the game, do they go to percentages, amount of wins? It's going to be interesting to see how the NFL handles this, but there's a lot of football left still to play. Luckily, both the Bengals and the Bills are pretty much locked in to getting home field advantage, at least in that first round. So that's good that they already have that locked up.
Yeah. And as we look toward this weekend coming up, we got 2 games on Saturday, and they kind of split it up with the scheduling so that on those Saturday games, we're going to get some clarity on Kansas City and Jacksonville, Tennessee, fighting for that South spot. So that's going to happen on Saturday, the AFC, and then think about your NFC for the Sunday games. Yep. And the other big thing for the AFC is the Steelers still have a shot at that final 7th playoff spot. They upset the Ravens, T-Money, and they can clinch that final wild card spot if there's certain things happen. They can still get in.
That is just crazy. They've been so up and down. Najee's been good, and now he's better, but he was horrible. Mitch Trubisky starting. Kenny Pickett. It's just been pretty wild, but Mike Tomlin continues to prove he's one of the best head coaches in the league.
Yes. And then we look over the AFC, which most of it goes down on Sunday. The 1 seed still up for grab. The Eagles are in it right now. And that 7th spot is still open and up for grabs. And, of course, we got the big run by Green Bay. But Seattle can still get it, and the Lions can still get it. Those 3 fighting for that 7th spot.
Yep, going to be interesting. Green Bay crawling back from the dead.
Hey, no Thursday night game this week, everybody. But we do have those 2 Saturday games. So be ready for that this week. Enjoy your Thursday night without any NFL. I know it's going to break our heart. And probably yours too. Hey, do us a favor, press that like and subscribe. We appreciate your support. Let's go to the Ross Rundown, kick it off for week 18 and cover some hot topics that might be exciting to cover. T-Money, starting off with Philadelphia. Chance over the last 2 weeks to secure that NFC East division title. They don't do it. They lose them both. Are you starting to worry about them?
I am. They're coming in, potentially going to lose this one to the Giants, even though the Giants aren't really fighting for much. But if Jalen Hurts doesn't play again, now do you lose that game, or do you play Jalen Hurts and risk him getting injured again? And if he doesn't play and they get the first round bye still, now he's not going to have played for over a month. And so does he go into that first playoff game rusty? There's just a lot of red flags. They lose Lane Johnson, the best right tackle in football. He's saying he hopefully can be back for the playoffs. They've lost a few other guys, and their secondary has just begun to leak more and more. There's a lot of red flags here. And once again, their head coach and their quarterback are still very inexperienced in the playoffs and very young duo. So I am worried about this team. They could very well lose to whoever they play, the Bucs or the Cowboys, most likely in that first round matchup. It would not surprise me one bit.
Yeah, well, that's a great summary. I like everything you said. That was kind of where I was going too. And I thought the offense would be stronger with Minshew, but he, 5 turnovers in the last 2 games, and they lose to New Orleans. I mean, I'd surprised that Minshew did as bad as he did. I thought he would come through and be a more solid replacement, but he has not done it.
Yeah, I agree. I was a little surprised. He was able to move the ball pretty well on the Cowboys. He just had some turnovers, or else they probably would have won that game. And
Pick 6 in the fourth quarter, man. You can't do that.
Yeah, so, coming into this game versus New Orleans, I was expecting a pretty easy victory here. They just couldn't put points on the board, couldn't move the ball. I think in the first quarter, they had a total of like 13 yards, their lowest scoring quarter of the season. He just couldn't move the ball. So maybe this is on Minshew. I think they're missing Hurts' dynamic run ability now. And so that's really hurting them. But again, if Hurts comes in this playoff game or in this game this week versus the Giants, you can't run the guy either, because you don't want to risk him hurting that shoulder even more. So then he limits himself and becomes a pocket passer. And then is he just a glorified Gardner Minshew? I don't know. There's a lot of questions. And the last thing you want going into the playoffs is questions. And that's why, yes, I am worried about him facing someone like the Cowboys, who are on somewhat of a hot streak, facing the Bucs, who's all of a sudden look like the 2020 Bucs. Those are 2 teams coming in hot, and the Eagles are going the opposite direction.
Philadelphia didn't gain a first down until 12 seconds remained in the second quarter. That's crazy. And their defense is not playing like they did at the beginning of the year either. That defense is dropping the ball. They're giving up a lot of yardage compared to what they were doing at the beginning of the year. A loss, and they could fall as far as the 5th seed. Do you know that?
That's crazy.
Where they would have to go, like you said, to Tampa and play Brady at his house. Yeah. What a swing that would be. But everything's out in front of them. A win Sunday against the Giants. They clinched that NFC East. That's all they do. The word is the Giants are going to rest their starters, or at least rest a lot of them. The Giants already got locked up in that 6th seed. So if the Eagles, come on, Eagles, you don't want to fall to the 5 seed. You just win this game and everything will be okay, at least for the time being. But Team Money's right. Without Jalen Hurts healthy, this team's not going to make it very far.
Totally agree, man. But let's transition to another team trying to squeeze into the playoffs here. Green Bay Packers on a little bit of a win streak right here. Aaron Rodgers telling everyone, like he always does, relax when they're on these little losing streaks. And I want to know, if they make the playoffs here, if they beat the Lions, do they make a little noise in the playoffs? Can they make a playoff run here, G?
Yes, they can. It's coming together for this team. And we said it over the last few weeks. We've been talking about this team, and they just had to take it one game at a time. We've been trying to pump them up, take one game at a time. They're doing that. They're in the playoffs right now. They're in the playoff run. This is it. They've got to win. So they got another game here where they have to win. Their defense shut down. Justin Jefferson broke a lot of fantasy manager hearts. Justin Jefferson shut down. So they also held Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison to 3.8 yards a carry. Back-to-back games now with 4 takeaways. That defense is tough right now. And the offense is doing well. Aaron Rodgers, he has it in him, and he's starting to bring it out. Christian Watson's starting to come alive. This team is on a roll, man. They're on a roll.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you here. I think this defense has been very impressive. Yes. but I'm not too impressed with who's most important when the games are on the line, and that's Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has not been great during this win streak. Not great at all. Now, even this past game versus the Vikings, only one touchdown, 159 yards. And that's because the defense did a lot. They had a pick six. They had a kick return for a touchdown. He didn't have to do a lot. He only threw 24 times. But, I mean, it's not that impressive of a game here from Aaron Rodgers. And that's been the problem, is this year Aaron Rodgers is having one of his worst seasons ever. And in the playoffs, everyone's defense is good and everyone's quarterback is good. And so do I trust Aaron Rodgers in a playoff game? And right now I don't, because statistically, even during his MVP seasons, he gets worse in the playoffs. And so I think there is no way this team can actually make a run here. If you just look at who they've played the last few weeks here, the Vikings, the Dolphins, Tua got knocked out, the Rams, the Bears, the Eagles, they got destroyed by the Eagles. I mean, the guy has one more touchdown than picks over his last 5 games.
Yeah, those are good points. But I really trust this guy. If I'm the coach, I really trust Aaron Rodgers coming down the stretch. You need to take that team down the field. His leadership and his throwing ability are really impressive in the clutch moments. I would like to have him, if I was a coach, in the playoffs, just keeping that team calm, under control, in the huddle, and leading them down the field. I can see him doing that.
Hey, can I borrow your glasses? Because you must be watching a different game than I've watched in the playoffs the last few years. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure the 49ers came in and scored one defensive touchdown and defeated Aaron Rodgers. Okay, that's the only touchdown the team scored. I don't know about clutch drive down the field you saw, but I need to borrow your glasses. I'm sorry. Those must be fun to watch, glasses.
That is funny. That's funny. Well, speaking of the 49ers, the 7 seed plays the 2 seed, and there's a lot of things that can happen here on this 2 seed and where this 7 seed's going to have to go. First of all, Green Bay needs to beat out Detroit and Seattle, but let's assume they do. Do they want to go play at Philly, at San Fran, or at Minnesota? I can tell you which one they'd rather play at. Or at Tampa Bay.
They will get murdered by the Niners.
And right now they have to go to the Niners. The Niners are the 2 seed. But if things jiggle around, there's a chance they could play Minnesota, and they will beat Minnesota.
I agree with you there. I agree with you there.
Let's go, Green Bay. Come on, Aaron. You hear my man T Money talking about you, Aaron. Come on, man. I want you to go out and do it. Green Bay favored by 4.5 this weekend to get it done and take down Detroit. But Detroit has their own story. I know we're not talking about them right now. But, hey, the last do-or-die game like we have here with Green Bay and Detroit going at it was last year. Remember the Raiders and Chargers in overtime. The Raiders 35, the Chargers 32. It was tied in overtime. And if they tied the game, it would have sent, I believe it was the Steelers.
Both of them. No, they both would have gone.
Yeah, they both would have gone. But Steelers, I think, would have got knocked out.
Yeah.
And so instead of, the Raiders get on and kick that long field goal with Carlson and knock the Chargers out. Goodbye. That's some hard feelings there, man.
Yeah.
Because they could have let it go and they would both be in. Hey, let's go on. Let's talk about the NFC and the Giants and their coach, Brian Daboll, doing a great job. Team Money, what do you think? Is he the coach of the year?
Oh, man, that's tough. That's a tough one right now.
I don't think it's tough.
I think he's got to be. From where they were.
Of course he is.
There's some good teams out there. Nick Sirianni's definitely going to have, something to say here. The Vikings with a brand new head coach, he's definitely got something to say here. But I would lean Brian Daboll, yes, because Daniel Jones was broken. That offense was horrible. The team was horrible last year. And look at them now. I mean, what did they have? A top 6 pick or top 5 pick? 4. They picked Kayvon Thibodeau, who looks awesome. And this team just clinched a playoff spot with a week to go. Who would have thought that? So I do. If I had a vote, he would be my guy. But I know a lot of people look at record and yada, yada, yada. But I look at situations flipped like that. Nick Sirianni made the playoffs last year, and now he's kind of in a skid. is that going to sour people's tastes heading into the final week here if he loses again? So
yeah, well, Philly has been consistently excellent all year, but now they're dipping down, and that's why I don't think he gets it. But you look at, there's 3 guys that are doing well that were good last year, and that's Philly, and that's the Vikings, and that's the 49ers. And yes, they all are better and doing better, but also a couple of them are declining. Philly and the Vikings are declining. Shanahan for the 49ers is still doing well. But if you look at the guys you would typically think of for coach of the year, guys that would improve teams you didn't think would be there. Of course, the Giants were not even expected to do anything this year, and especially in his first year. And I think where he really separates himself is how he has managed Daniel Jones. Now, Daniel Jones looked at as the guy that is, going to be the heir apparent. He's going to get this spot as the Giants signal caller if he keeps playing like this. And that is totally due to Daboll, the quarterback guru. He was in Buffalo, did the same thing, came here. Daniel Jones has stepped it up, and I attribute that to Daboll and his coaching.
Hey, I agree with you. I love Daboll. I definitely think, Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings, should be in the running. I would also throw Zach Taylor's name in there. I was out on this guy.
You don't like Zach Taylor?
I don't like Zach Taylor. I still don't. But going from, what did the Bengals start? They were, 2-3 and not looking great. They started 0-2 to now be on a 7-game win streak and potentially could have, if this game didn't get postponed, been the 1 seed. I think that's a hell of an in-season turnaround. And so I throw in a couple names in there, receiving votes kind of guys, but I'm on the Daboll train. I think we both said this before the beginning of the season. We loved this hire. And
the guy with the opportunity, I think, that has come from a team that wasn't that good is Campbell from Detroit. If they get into the playoffs,
I agree.
They got to get into the playoffs or he doesn't get it. But they would be, if they get into the playoffs, they will be the first team in NFL history to start 1-6 and make the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't even think about that. And in the end, they both probably have very similar records. So I actually might agree with you. Campbell needs to get that if they make the playoffs. And they beat the Packers to do it, beat Rodgers. That's a hell of a storyline. That would be fun.
The only opportunity in the AFC, we have talked about all NFC teams. The only opportunity in the AFC is the Jags. So that, is an interesting, we'll see where they go.
Yeah, we'll see. Should be an interesting finish to the season. Let's transition over to Tom Brady and the Bucs, man. They had a big win. He was throwing the ball all over the place. Should everyone be scared to play the Bucs in the playoffs now?
Absolutely. They're at home to open this thing up. They won their division, and they're 8-8, and they're going to host one of these teams, and that gives them an edge. They're probably going to be favored in that game, and now anything can happen. Brady throws for 432 passing yards and finds Mike Evans, your buddy Mike Evans.
Finally.
Scores 3 touchdowns, goes over 1,000 yards for the year. And, that combination, if those guys start clicking, along with everything else they got going, they are going to be a dangerous offense.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is what I've been asking for all year.
You've been talking about it.
When he throws to Mike Evans, just force the damn ball to the guy. He makes plays. He's a great contested catch guy. And they didn't do that the past 5 games, it seemed like. But there'd be halves where they did it, and they looked awesome versus the Bengals. Guess what? That's because they threw to Mike Evans a few times, and then they didn't throw to him in the whole second half, and the Bengals came storming back. This is what happens when you get the best playmaker on your team involved. I know people like Chris Godwin, but Mike Evans is the first player in NFL history to have 1,000 yards in his first 9 seasons. This guy's legit. All right. I love Mike Evans. I wish he would have done it earlier to help my fantasy teams. But other than that, I would be scared to play this team. I agree with you. They're getting hot at the right time. If they had just squeezed out this win, I don't think I would be as adamant as I am here. But to see the liveliness they threw that ball, the Panthers were on a bit of a win streak themselves. They really looked good and looked like the Bucs of old. And if they get Tom Brady in a rhythm like that, they're going to be a hard team to beat with a solid defense.
Brady completes 76% of his passes, man. He's like a little young kid out there. 76%. He leads another fourth quarter comeback. Man, they are pumped up right now. The Bucs play Atlanta this week, but their playoff position's already solidified. Should the Eagles win Sunday, the Dallas Cowboys will be locked into the 5 seed and would visit the Bucs. If the Eagles win, the Cowboys go to the Bucs. Bucs beat them 19-3 last time they played.
Yeah, this should be interesting for sure.
If the Cowboys win the division, the Eagles will play the Bucs in the wild card round. How about that, man? That's crazy. Yeah. Hey, let's talk about let's go back over to the AFC, talk about the team that cousin Randy was shooting down not that long ago, and that's the New England Patriots. Wow, are you impressed by this win that they just put together on Sunday?
Ugh. I mean, I hate being impressed by it because it's so boring and it's so bad. Mac Jones is so bad. I just don't get it. But I guess I'm impressed because Bill Belichick continues to make quarterbacks look like fools, right? Like, I mean, they're playing Teddy Bridgewater and then they bring in their backup. So I'm not like overly impressed, but their defense just makes plays. And that's what Bill Belichick falls back on. They had a defensive touchdown. Their kickoff
defensive score this season.
Yeah, their kickoff returns are always solid. I mean, yeah, they had a few other interceptions. It was just, I hate how boring it is, but
yeah, they're another word for it though is consistent. They're consistent. Yeah. They've got the defense. They've got the running game. They play well in the cold weather. They play well in November. And it's really interesting that on the same day that Brady has an awesome day, so does Belichick. And here they are again, those two guys bubbling up, what could happen. It's really interesting. But here's another thing about the Patriots. That 89-yard drive in the fourth quarter to beat Miami. We have not seen that out of the Patriots and Mac Jones. Mac Jones going 89. I mean, that's impressive.
That's not bad.
He's got 8 touchdowns and only 1 interception in his last 8 starts. A little bit of a concern is
touchdown a game,
but only 1 interception, and he's been making mistakes in the past, so he's cleaning it up. And the only issue I see is Ramondre seems to be getting tired, struggling. I don't know what it is, but having Harris back in the lineup, letting those guys kind of feed off each other and trade some of these snaps, that might help him out, having both Harris and Ramondre going at it together.
Yeah, kind of on the same wavelength, but I don't think I agree with him getting slower. I think they need to give him more touches. I don't think him getting 8 carries in a game was smart. He's been having a hell of a year. So I just think continuing to let that guy get the ball in his hands, he is the best playmaker on that team for sure. And that would be my concern looking forward is Mac Jones had a decent game. He did. He played well, 2 touchdowns, only had 200 yards, but their defense just played so damn well. They didn't really need a big offensive game, but versus the Bills, they need to get their ball into their playmakers' hands. And Ramondre, again, only 8 touches for 42 yards. So I am a little concerned that they're going to go away from him when he's had such a prolific year. So be careful. Be careful what you wish for, putting the ball in Mac Jones's hands that much. 33 throws. Good luck versus the Bills. But let's move on to another team. Minnesota Vikings get throttled by the Packers.
Man.
Now, real question I got for you, G. Have you lost all faith in the Vikings?
Well, not all faith, but my hand is on the Bible. I mean, these guys, they're becoming the Vikings that we all know.
Yep.
That's what they're becoming. They started off great, like they always do, and then they usually blow it in the playoffs, but now they're blowing it before that, and the Vikings were up for just kind of what we're talking about with the Giants, up for Coach of the Year, and all of a sudden the resurrection of Kirk Cousins doing even better, and, we're talking about them as the player and the Coach of the Year, and now look at what it's kind of crumbling apart here. They've got an NFL record, 11 victories in 1-score games. That's impressive.
It's
so they've
crazy.
Had something like that. but they've also had 4 blowout losses. Dallas beat them 40-3. The Packers beat them 41-17. I mean,
It's
is
crazy.
where we lose. That's why we lose faith in them.
Yeah. It is very concerning because of stuff like their point differential. I mean, they're 12-4 and their point differential is -19, right? And that's because they've been in so many close games. But teams with better point differentials, real quickly, the Raiders, the Browns, the Saints, and the Jets, all just a few other teams that have better point differentials than this mediocre team. Now, that collection of teams sounds more like Minnesota here. 1-score games. I know that's a great record and shows you're good in the clutch. To me, that shows you can't put teams away, that you don't know how to close games, that you're always in a situation where you're allowing the teams to stay around. And in the playoffs, good teams take advantage of that. And do you trust Kirk Cousins in the clutch in the postseason? I don't think so. And it wasn't a 1 p.m. game yesterday or Sunday when we watched that. And that's probably why he struggled.
You talked about Aaron Rodgers and you don't have confidence in him, but here they go. Minnesota's traveling to Green Bay, and I think Green Bay has the better quarterback here, man. I don't know what you think.
Let's see how it finishes out here. I would be a little nervous about that game. But again, I want to give perspective to this. I don't think the Packers are that great, but they had a kickoff return for a touchdown, and then they had a pick 6. And that puts you behind the 8 ball where teams know you're going to pass. And so all they did was drop back, double Justin Jefferson, and then they dropped another guy off the line and put him on Hawkinson and Thielen. It was a tough night for Kirk. I get it. But I think these teams, yes, while the Packers destroyed them, I do think Minnesota is better than the Packers, personally. I just think Minnesota is not one of the best teams in the
Green
NFL.
Bay favored by 4.5 in this one. This is the Sunday night game, everybody. Sunday night. It's going to be, are you sure? I'm showing Green
Detroit.
Bay. Okay, yeah, check that while I'm talking.
Green Bay, Detroit. Green Bay plays Detroit.
Yeah, at Green Bay, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I said.
Sorry, I thought you were saying the Minnesota played them, but yes.
Sorry, did I? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so it'll be an interesting game here this weekend with Green Bay. The Vikings need to win to try to secure the 1 seed and or stay in the hunt for it at least, or the 2 seed or the 3 seed, because the Niners are on their heels. A lot of ramifications coming here, but I have lost faith in them. I don't trust them at all. No way they make the Super Bowl, let alone a conference final. They may win one playoff game because of the situation on who they play, and they play at home, but I've lost all faith. These guys are frauds. Randy was right.
Yeah, Randy did call them out. Minnesota favored by 6. Sorry about that, against the Bears. So Minnesota at the Bears at the early games on Sunday. So there you go there. Hey, speaking of that, I think I hear Cousin Randy's yelling in my ear that he wants to talk. And so, hey, we're going to go out to Cousin Randy for this week's Chug and Chant.
Hey, welcome into this week's Chug and Chant. It's Cousin Randy here. I'm wearing my powder blue, and I got my blue beer because I got something to say about a new team that's arrived. Let's get this chug on, and then we're going to chant. Now, I know I might be biased because this guy's got a great flow like me. But Justin Herbert and the Chargers are legit. They're for real. These guys are scary. No one wants to play these guys. They've won 5 out of their last 6, and they play Denver next week. There might be 6 out of their last 7, okay? They're on a little hot streak. Justin Herbert's in the top 5 of every passing statistic this year. Austin Eckler looks like maybe the best running back in football. And their defense is only getting healthier. This team is peaking at the right time and starting to look awful scary. They're always in every game. Even to the Chiefs, they play them close. The Niners, who everyone thinks is great, they lost only by less than a touchdown. This is a legit team now, and these guys are here to stay. 10 wins this year, and this young Justin Herbert is a stud. What an arm this guy has. Can make every throw, can move out of the pocket, and he's clutch. This guy can lead game-winning drives too. Not scared of the moment. I like the Chargers. They've arrived. They're scary, and they are officially Cousin Randy's contender this playoff season. G-Man, T-Money, what do you think about the Chargers? They arrived?
And hey, there's Randy, team money. Randy
Yeah.
bearing, all charged up in the Charger blue, team money.
Yeah.
Scary team to play. Have the Chargers arrived? I'm not going to give them, the full treatment and get the band playing and roll out the red carpet yet. I don't think they've arrived like that.
Yeah.
But they're in the playoffs. Let's see what they can do.
Yeah. I mean, if they finish the year 11-6, pretty damn good team, pretty good record. Brandon Staley, I think we were calling for his job earlier in the year. I still have question marks about him. I think him and Zach Taylor in that same breath of like quarterback play has just helped you overcome how bad you are as a coach kind of thing. But hey, I see you're wearing your Charger blue. I'm on the bandwagon of Justin. I'm on the bandwagon of Justin Herbert being.
This is my Giants blue, actually.
Oh, Giants blue. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I'm on the bandwagon of Justin Herbert being a top 5 quarterback in this league. I don't know if I'm on the full contender swing here, and it's mainly because that AFC is so tough. I mean, you got to go through Burrow, you got to go through Josh Allen, you got to go through Mahomes, and a plethora of other really solid teams, the Ravens, the Steelers, the Dolphins. I mean, there's a lot of really good AFC teams. So if they were in the NFC, I might pick them to go to the damn Super Bowl. That's how much I like Justin Jefferson. But contenders, that's going to be tough until I see them prove it in the playoffs. It's their first trip around with Staley and Herbert. So it'll be fun to see how they perform.
Well, Chargers have the 5 seed in the AFC. They can't go any lower than 6. They clinched a 5 seed with a win on Sunday.
And they'll be going to the
Chargers
winner of Titans.
at Denver.
Yeah. They'd be going to the winners of Titans versus Jags as well.
They should pound Denver this week. Denver has nothing to play for. Although they did look good last week. I mean, they only lost by 3 to the Chiefs. So Denver showed a little new life there, but I just can't believe that they will give the Chargers a game.
Yeah. It'll be an interesting finish.
But yeah, they will go to either the Jacksonville Jags or Tennessee. If they win this week, the Chargers will go on the road to one of those places, which that's a pretty good draw.
Yeah. That's who you want if you're playing any of those guys.
Yeah. If they lose Baltimore, that would force the Chargers to go to the AFC North champion.
Yeah.
The AFC North champion, which should be a lot tougher road to go. So come on, Chargers. Go get the W versus Denver. Do not let them play you close, man. Take them out and get out of this thing. Hey, let's go on to Big Bets, T-Money. We're going to give you our best picks of the week, our lock of the week, and our dog lock of the week. Of course, the dog lock is a dog that we think can win the game. So let's shift gears here. Go into our picks. T-Money. Man, you're 3-1 the last 2 weeks, T-Money. You're picking them very, very well. Who's your lock pick of the week this week?
Lock pick of the week. I'm going Chiefs -7.5 versus the Raiders. Now, this is a sketchy one because if the NFL comes out and says, we're officially not playing the Bills game, I don't know how that affects the Bills-Bengals game. I don't know how that affects everything, but I think the Chiefs are going to come out. Still divisional game. The Raiders played pretty well last week for San Francisco, but I don't think Jared Stidham's going to have 2 good games in a row. This Raiders defense is horrible, allowing some of the most points in the game, points per game. They're just not going to be able to keep up with the Chiefs here. Brock Purdy and those guys played well. Josh Jacobs is solid, but Chris Jones in the center is going to swallow that guy up and really stop their run game. And so I think that'll affect Jared Stidham in the pass game. I don't see the Raiders putting up 25 points plus again. That just doesn't seem possible. So give me the Chiefs here for a blowout to go into the playoffs on fire.
That looks like a good pick. Got to give up that hook, though. That 7.5. Hate that. But
I might wait to see if it falls.
Over 52 points as the highest over-under of the week by far. They play on the Saturday early game at 4:25. The late game's 8:15, everybody's for your Saturdays. So 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock are the games. Those Chiefs up at 4 o'clock. I'm going to go for my lock pick of the week over to FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland, where the Commanders host the Cowboys. Cowboys -4.5. I don't think that's enough T-Money. The Commanders played terrible last week under Wentz.
They did.
They got their heart broken, tragically eliminated. This team had so much hope at the beginning of the year, and I got to think they are down in the dumps. Dallas plays at the 4 p.m. Sunday slot. Same time
for
as
the
Philly.
1 seed.
While same time as Philly, they're playing at the same time, both going for the number 1 seed. So I think Dallas will still, it's all going to be there in front of them. I think they're going to try and roll in this game and go get that 1 seed. Give me the Cowboys favored by 4.5 over the sinking ship Commanders. Lock pick of the week.
All right. I like it. My dog lock of the week here, Detroit plus 4.5 versus the Packers. I think this is going to be a close game. Did you watch Detroit last week? They put a whooping on the Packers. All right. This team is legit. I like them a lot.
You're talking about the Bears they beat.
Oh, yeah.
You said they beat the Packers. They beat the Bears, right?
They beat the Bears last week. I apologize. They're playing the Packers, right?
Right.
And I know it was a close game last time, 15-9 when they last lost to the Packers earlier this season. It's a different Detroit team. This team is legit. They're on a hot streak right now. They can go to the playoffs. You want to talk about a guy that's going to get me fired up for a game? Out of any coach in the NFL, I choose Dan Campbell. All right, this guy's going to have them ready to go. Rodgers already cocky on his high horse saying, look at what all the haters are going to say now that said we couldn't get to the playoffs, acting like he already got there in his last week's press conference. Didn't like that at all. Little bulletin board material. Detroit's going to keep it close. 4.5 seems like a lot in a close division game. I like that as my dog lock. And just a secondary one real quick. I like the Bucs +4 versus the Falcons. I think they're still going to play their starters.
I like that. Sticking that little one in there right there.
Yeah.
Hey, well, the good news is, and I'm hanging out with good money. You're 3-1 the last 2 weeks. I got the same pick as you, man.
Hey,
I'm going Detroit also on the dog lock, getting the 4.5. I agree with you, man. Jamal Williams, 157 yards last week. I mean, that's pretty impressive that they got that run game going.
Yeah.
And I like Aaron Rodgers, as I told you. Aaron Rodgers, I think, could win this game, but Lions are 8-1 against the spread in their last 9 games, so they will keep it close, I think.
I agree.
They're also 9-2 against the spread in their last 11 games against the Packers. So they may lose this game. I think it's going to be exciting. It's going to be close. So I'm with you, man. Give me the Lions along with you.
All right. I like it. Well, now that we're both feeling hot, tell me what I should expect in G-Man's player prop of the week. What you got?
Hey, player prop of the week. I like this, the Detroit and the Green Bay game, the quarterbacks. I like both quarterbacks putting up some numbers here. We're early in the week here this week. It's only Tuesday, so I don't have all the numbers yet, but look for Detroit and Green Bay's quarterbacks over on the yardage. Over on the yardage for those 2 quarterbacks. Also like Justin Fields. Playing against Minnesota. Justin's at home. I think I like Justin Fields on the rushing yards prop. Play him over on the rushing yards prop. And the last one I like is that battle of the Jags and the Titans. I think Derrick Henry's going to let it loose, man. Go for Derrick Henry, going for some big numbers. They got to get him loose. They got to get Derrick Henry loose.
If he plays, I agree.
What do you mean? Why is he not playing?
He didn't play last week.
Well, he's going to play this week. He was resting last week. They were getting him ready for this game. He's in, man. He's in. He's going to go crazy, and he's going to put this team on his back and bring home the victory. I'm telling you, the Titans are going to get this one, and Derrick Henry is going to be part of the reason. Hey, let's go on to fantasy football, baby. Fantasy football, G-Man. I need these 2 guys behind me. And they couldn't get it done last night because the game got called. But I got 2 players left, and I'm in the fantasy championship, T-Money. And I need these 2 guys behind me to play a game so that I can get some more points. So it's throwing a wrench into the whole playoffs.
Crazy.
But luckily, in the playoffs here, man, all you fantasy managers, I know some of you are in the playoffs, some of you are done. But we can still talk about DFS if you like playing daily fantasy, or if you have dynasty leagues. We're going to talk some dynasty stuff. We're going to try to keep this relevant for all you fantasy managers, all right? Hey, ESPN, little stat before we start with hot and cold. ESPN analyzed the playoffs. The fantasy teams that made the playoffs. Who were the most common players found on the ESPN teams that are in the playoffs? So these are the players that brought it home for the fantasy teams this year. Number 1, you probably will be able to guess this, T-Money.
I don't know.
Travis Kelce on 71% of the playoff teams on ESPN fantasy leagues. Number 2, Josh Jacobs. Number 3, Jalen Hurts. and then followed by Tyreek Hill and Austin Eckler. Those are the top 5. If you had those guys in your team, they carried a lot of teams into the fantasy playoffs and championships. So, hey, let's kick things off with hot and cold.
Let's do it.
I'm going to give you some hot and cold for DFS for your daily fantasy. I'm going to give you hot. T-Money's going to give you cold for your daily fantasy. Okay, so let's jump into that at quarterback. I like the Sunday night game, the Detroit quarterbacks. I talked about that being some of my player props at quarterback this week. So at quarterback, a little bit different flavor here I'm giving you tonight because I want to give you multiple players, and we're talking daily fantasy. So at the quarterback, play one of the Detroit quarterbacks or Green Bay quarterbacks on the Sunday night game. I did notice on DraftKings Team Money that they broke up. You can't play all the games all at once. You got to play Saturday games or you play Sunday games. You can't do them all together. So the Sunday night game, if you play Sunday, go for the Detroit and Green Bay quarterbacks. Justin Fields, I like also against that Vikings defense, Justin Fields. Also the Green Bay Detroit game is by itself on that Sunday because that's the late game on Sunday. So that's all by itself on Sunday night. You can't bet it with the other games on a daily fantasy. So I just want to clarify that.
All right. A little tutorial here from.
It's probably confusing,
I disagree. Cold QB, don't touch Rodgers. I don't like it.
All right.
I like Jared Goff. I like that play. Solid. Hey,
you're not criticizing me. Don't criticize my plays. Tell me who your cold ones are.
My cold. I said I like Goff. But hey, last 5 starts, Rodgers not over 16.6 fantasy points per game.
So he's your cold pick. Okay.
And he is my cold pick.
Oh.
So he has not performed even on this win streak. And the last time they played the Lions, yes, they won. Rodgers only had 13. So I don't like this pick actually for Rodgers. I like the Goff pick. Be careful touching him. The run game is the most important thing for the Green Bay Packers, not Aaron Rodgers.
Hey, all you fans out there, keep us accountable next week. So we make sure we're
going to have a fight over this one.
All right, let's go to running back this week. Find some players who have a good offense where the starters will be resting. That's a little tip for y'all. Think about that. Which teams are resting their players and which ones aren't? An example is Keyshawn Vaughn for the Bucs. They're not going to play their top 2 running backs. Keyshawn Vaughn is going to get all the plays. Atlanta's ranked 24th in run defense. Keyshawn Vaughn is a great pickup for that reason. Another backup that I like is Alexander Madison. Alexander Madison will probably get a lot of the snaps. So those are 2 guys that I like that I think will be good value out there in daily fantasy.
Yep. All right. Sounds good. My cold running back of the week is any of the Bills running backs. I wouldn't touch them. If you want to, I'd probably go Cook because he's a little more, low cost, may explode for something in the, later in the game, especially if the Bills are blowing them out. He's probably going to get more playing time than Singletary, but I wouldn't touch any of them personally. They're playing the Patriots. That's a good team. They're at the Patriots. That they are the number 3 team versus running backs in fantasy, so a very good defense. And Josh Allen always steals those rushing touchdowns and is their main run game in the first place. So those are my cold running backs of the week. Any of the Bills' backfield, mainly because Josh Allen's going to have a big game personally, I think, and then they're going to go up against a tough D.
Okay. Let's go to wide receiver. Again, you got to play the Saturday games by themselves, and then Sunday day by itself, and then Sunday nights by itself. During that Saturday games, I like Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks playing for the Titans. Dobbs is the starting quarterback. He targeted Burks 8 times. Rookie guy, 66 yards last week. Great buy, only $5,500 on DraftKings. So I think he's just a great value. I think he's going to get the targets in a very, very important game where they'll have to score some points to keep up with the Jags. For Sunday night, the game it'll be on its own, that Detroit Green Bay game. I like Christian Watson at the receiver up against Detroit's 30th ranked pass defense. Christian Watson for the wide receiver there on that Sunday night daily fantasy.
All right. I like Christian Watson. Solid guy here. My cold wide receiver of the week, I'm going Tyreek Hill. I know everyone likes Tyreek. Last week, or versus New England last week. He only had one carry, 4 receptions for 55 yards. So not a big day for him, only 9.5 points. And he's playing the Jets, go up against the best player in the NFL, defensive back, Sauce Gardner.
Oh,
that
you
is
love
correct.
Sauce. And you should love Sauce.
He shuts everyone down. So I don't have a reason. The voters called him a Pro Bowler as a rookie. So I don't know what's going on. I must be just talking out my ass, or he's a badass Bearcat. That I don't know. One of the 5 things is probably right.
Yeah.
Versus the Jets, last time they played, though, Tyreek Hill only 13 points. So they did hold him in check last time he played. He's kind of dipping now, especially if Tua's not playing, who might be out for the season. Teddy Bridgewater hurt his throwing hand as well. So they might have the backup in. I don't like Tyreek Hill in this game, regardless of who's quarterback.
Gutsy call there. Over under on that game is the lowest of the week. 38 points for that game. It's going to be low scoring. You're right, man. Hey, just summarizing my daily fantasy lineup, kind of putting it all together here. Quarterback, I like Justin Fields there, running the ball, going to get a lot of running. Running back, I got Madison for the Vikings and Vaughn for Tampa Bay. Wide receiver, got some guys we haven't talked much about. CD Lamb I was able to afford because I went with some low-value guys. So I went after CD Lamb was one of the best players that'll be out there. KJ Osborne, I think, is going to get a lot of the targets this week after Jefferson got shut down. KJ's got to step up, and Jefferson probably won't play. So KJ will be the lead receiver, maybe the wide receiver 1 out there for Minnesota. I like Hodgins for the Giants. He'll be playing a lot because they'll be having their subs in there. Goddard for Philly against the Giants. I got Joe Mixon at the flex. I was able to get some extra money from all my value picks and get Joe Mixon in there at $7,100. And the Dolphins defense, as we just talked about, defensive game right there. I'm going Dolphins defense, only $3,000.
All right. Sounds good, G.
Hey, there's your team, man. Hey, all right. Hey, let's go to Take or Mistake. T-Money, as we wrap up the Father-Son show here on January 3rd, the new year. And let's go. This is a surprise to T-Money. A little bit different version of the Take or Mistake this time. This time it's only take, and I'll explain that in a minute. But I'm going to talk about quarterback, running back, and wide receiver with T-Money. And we're going to talk about Dynasty. Which players should you keep if you have Dynasty? Starting off T-Money with the first one at quarterback, Daniel Jones or Brock Purdy. Which one do you keep, T-Money? Jones completed 19 of 24 passes for 177 yards in Week 17, threw for 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and rushed for 91 yards and 2 more touchdowns, 36 fantasy points. Purdy completed 22 of 35 for 284, 2 touchdowns, had an interception, and they win in overtime. His 5th win in a row with at least 2 touchdowns, T-Money. If fantasy managers have to keep or draft one of these 2 quarterbacks next season, T-Money, which one would it be? Is Daniel Jones a take for next season, or is Brock Purdy the guy you would take?
I hate this question.
G-Man gave me a good question here.
No, I just want to throw up thinking about both these guys being my starting quarterback. I would take Daniel Jones if I had to take any. He gets a lot more rushing touchdowns. The Niners rely on a lot more of their run game and passing game. I do like the Niners. I think the biggest thing here is I expect Brock Purdy to not be the starter next year. I think it'll be Trey Lance.
Really?
I think it'll be someone else. It could be Tom Brady. I just think Brock Purdy is most likely not the starter moving forward unless he wins a Super Bowl. If he goes and wins a Super Bowl, you can't do anything. You're going to keep him as your starter. But if he does anything less than that, I think he's probably not the starter next year. I don't see the Giants getting anyone else in-house that they think is better than Daniel Jones at this point. They're not going to go pay Derek Carr $40 million, after Daniel Jones has made the playoffs. So I'd go Daniel Jones.
All right, that's a great answer, T-Money. You are a sharp guy. You love this game, and you're good at it. Hey, let's go to running back. See if I can stump you again here with Jerick McKinnon or Najee Harris. McKinnon rushes only twice for 4 yards, but brought in 5 of 6 targets and 2 touchdowns. As the Chiefs beat the Broncos, he had 23 fantasy points. He now has 7 receiving touchdowns in 5 games. Najee Harris rushed for 111 yards, caught 2 of 3 targets for 12 yards and a touchdown, totaling over 20 fantasy points. Only the second time this season, though. If fantasy managers had to decide today to keep or draft one of these 2 running backs for next season, what would it be? Is it Jerick McKinnon to take for the next season, T-Money, or would you take Najee Harris?
I would take Najee Harris. And look, I know Jerick McKinnon had a hell of a run here. He's just been out amazing. For one, the guy has been incredibly injured throughout his career. He wasn't the starter at the beginning of the season. He wasn't even the second string at the beginning of the season. So I would be a little concerned. That's a crowded backfield with CEH coming back and Pacheco looking like the starter. And I think they're going to upgrade their wide receiver core next year. The Chiefs will, and he'll be less of a threat in the receiving game, which is where he's really been elite. So I would be a little more concerned about him, whereas Najee started the year slow. Yes, he was injured. He had a metal plate in his shoe. He couldn't really perform. These last few weeks, he's been really good. Last 4 weeks, I think he's been double digits, like 6 weeks in a row. This week, he was 20. Last week, 15. I know because he's been on my team. He was solid to finish the year. And this offensive line is only going to get better. That's their weak point. They're going to attack it this offseason, I believe. He's the main guy in that system. I would always take a guy who is the main offense in a system. McKinnon is like the 4th option. Najee's probably the number 1 going into next year.
Okay, good advice, T-Money. Last one coming up for you as we wrap up the show here, Father Son Sports. A couple of mics here for you, T-Money. Mike Williams or Mike Pittman? Mike Williams recorded 7 receptions on 10 targets for 94 yards on Sunday, more targets than Keenan Allen, and now has 353 yards combined across the last 4 games. Pittman secured 6 of 8 targets for 41 yards and a touchdown and led the team in receptions and targets. He's now just 4 receptions short of the 100-catch mark for the season, as well as 5 yards shy of the 900-yard threshold. Both of these wide receivers are averaging 14 fantasy points per game this season. But T-Money, if fantasy managers had to decide which one to keep or draft for next season, is Mike Williams the take for next season, or would you rather take Mike Pittman?
If I had to make a decision right now, I would go with Mike Williams. Right now, everything I know, because I know who the quarterback is, and he's a top 5 quarterback in this league. Mike, if he can stay healthy, Mike Williams has a chance to be a top 10 receiver in the league. He's already proven he can do it once. If Keenan Allen starts to decline, which he's a great route runner, but you're already saying it, he's out targeting Keenan Allen right now. And that's a great combo. And when Keenan Allen's out there, he's getting the number 2 receiver. He's elite. Even when Keenan Allen was out, he was still proving he could be a number 1 receiver. I just don't trust whoever the hell the quarterback's going to be for Indianapolis next year. I like Michael Pittman, but look, he had 6 catches for 44 yards. That's cute. I mean, that's not a number 1 receiver. Mike Williams has such boom potential, and his floor is what Michael Pittman just got this past weekend. So I would lean towards that. I love having a number 1 receiver, but it's a quarterback question for me. Now, I'd trade Michael Pittman if someone's high on him. Go flip him for Mike Williams and a draft pick. You could probably get something like that.
Ah, nice. T-Money bringing the advice, y'all. Watch out. Hey, great advice, T-Money. That's it for today's show. We hope you all had fun and got some tips to help you win in what you're doing this weekend. Make sure you look for all of our segments wherever you consume your content. We're everywhere. Look for us at Father, Son, and Holy Sport. On behalf of T-Money, I'm G-Man. Enjoy Week 18 this weekend.
All right. Peace.